Texas, you really think I would forget about you. Of course, I made you a video with real estate exam practice questions from Real Estate Exam Ninja in Texas. Okay, so if you guys got any questions, comments, drop it in the comments below and I will respond to everybody. If you need help passing your real estate exam, check us out at realestateexamninja.com. See you guys.
1. In Texas, when realtors address the purchaser and not the vendor of a piece of property, A. They're engaging in buyer protection. B. Buyer agency. C. Seller protection. D. Good faith. The correct answer is B. Buyer agency is the term for representation in a real estate transaction. The principal, in this case, the buyer, gives legal authority to an agent to act on the principal's behalf when dealing with a third party. 2. In Texas, potential gross pay short opening and assortment misfortunes are A. An adequate gross income. B. Net income. C. Total income. D. Potential income. The correct answer is A. An adequate gross income. Sufficient income is potential gross income minus vacancy and collection losses to calculate net operating income minus operating expenses from the good gross income. 3. In Texas, a development has a standard that each home in the area is no less than 2,500 square feet. This is an illustration of which idea? A. Cooperative ownership. B. Restrictive covenant. C. Fair housing laws violation. D. Homestead laws. The correct answer is B. Restrictive covenant. Neighborhood developers or associations create restrictive covenants to ensure that the neighborhood maintains specific standards. Examples include minimum housing size, restrictions on architectural style, or mandated underground sprinkling. 4. How old do you have to be in Texas to obtain a real estate license? A. 20 years old. B. 21 years old. C. 18 years old. D. 25 years old. The correct answer is C. 18 years old. To be a realtor, you must be at least 18 years old. 5. In Texas, an agency contract is being ended. In which situation may there be harms owed to one of the gatherings? A. The owners discharged the agent because she was not acting in their best interest. B. The agent resigned from the contract because he is overloaded with homes to sell. C. The property owner discovers another claim on the title of the house. D. The agency files for bankruptcy. The correct answer is D. The agent resigned for the contract because he is overloaded with homes to sell. Agents and owners may leave from a sale, but they may be liable for damages due to a breach of contract. However, suppose there is a legally sound reason for resignation, such as the owners requesting the agent do something illegal or the agent not acting in the seller's best interest. In that case, there is no penalty for resignation. Being overloaded with homes to sell would not be considered a justifiable reason to end the contract. So the agent may owe the seller some damages: bankruptcy, death, legal incompetence, and multiple claims on the title all automatically terminate the agency relationship by law. 6. Joan sells her house to her brother Mike on a handshake. This contract is A. Valid only in certain states. B. Illegal. C. Valid because they are related. D. Unenforceable. The correct answer is D. Unenforceable. For a contract of sale to be valid, there must be signatures from both parties. 7. Which is a broker not required to have visible on their office sign? A. A trading name. B. Licensed real estate broker. 2. C. Broker name. D. Address. The correct answer is D. Address. Brokers are required to have their trade name, the words licensed real estate broker, and their full name on their office sign. 8. Which of the following would not be considered a finance charge? A. An interest. B. Seller's points. C. Finder's fees. D. Appraisal fees. The correct answer is B. Seller's points. A finance charge is any charge made by the lender of credit that the borrower is directly or indirectly required to pay. The borrower isn't answerable for paying the merchant's focuses, however, for things, for example, locator's charges, examination expenses, and interest. 9. The transfer disclosure statement TDS form is required on A. The sale of 1 to a 4-unit residential property. B. The sale of a commercial building. C. The sale of vacant land. D. All foreclosure sales. The correct answer is A. The sale of a 1 to 4-unit residential property. Many disclosure laws target 1 to 4-unit residential properties as a protected class of real estate. As a seller regarding known facts completes the transfer disclosure statement TDS form, it is not required in the instance of a foreclosure. Further, commercial property transactions require the disclosure of property defects affecting value, but the statutory TDS form is not required. 10. What information would be unethical for a listing agent to share with a potential buyer? A. The neighbors next door are great and have 2 young children about the age of your kids. B. The local area affiliation charges are $800 this year, however, they will be going up to $1,200. C. The roof might need to be replaced in the next year or 2. D. The seller is very eager for an offer because he lost his job and found a new one in a different state. The correct answer is D. The seller is very eager for an offer because he lost his job and found a new one in a different state. It is improper for a posting specialist to enlighten an imminent purchaser individual data regarding the vendor, regardless of whether it might support a deal. The main special case would be on account of a dealer educating the specialist to do as such. Doing so would be a confidentiality breach on the part of the listing agent. The broker should answer all questions related to the property honestly. 11. When inspecting a residence in a hillside subdivision, the salesperson observes cracks in the foundation and notices the doors and windows do not close properly. As an issue of best practice, the salesman references their perceptions in the Exchange Exposure Proclamation TDs and suggests what of coming up next be requested. A. A home warranty policy. B. A special studies report. C. A soil engineer's inspection. D. A termite clearance. The correct answer is C. A soil engineer's inspection. Here's an example of arriving at the correct answer by eliminating the wrong answers. Though the other answer still sections moderately relate to a property. The existence of cracks in a hillside subdivision indicates there may be a problem with the soil under the property, which a soil engineer best diagnoses. 12. According to HUD standards, which of the following would be an acceptable neighborhood advertisement? A. Traditional living. B. Exclusive neighborhood. C. Muslim friendly. D. Senior housing. The correct answer is D. Senior housing intended to serve those 55 and older is acceptable according to HUD standards. Words characteristic of race, religion, shading, familial status, sex, impairment, or public beginning are not adequate, nor remark that could be thought of as oppressive, for example, selective, prohibitive, customary, or board supported. 13. Unlawful detainer UD action is instigated by A. A grantor. B. A trustee. C. A lessor. D. A real estate broker. The right answer is C. A lessor and unlawful captor UD activity is to court procedures to constrain an inhabitant to clear the rental space they don't reserve the option to have. A lessor landowner is a bothered individual who starts this cycle against a no ideal person to possess a property, for example, a leftover inhabitant. 14. Tenancy by the entireties convey title at the same time and must be a. Husband and wife. b. Unequal percentage. c. Tenants in common. d. Undivided interest. The correct answer is a. Husband and wife. Tenancy by the entireties is a tenancy between husband and wife, and the right of survivorship must exist. The correct answer is a. Husband and wife, and the right of survivorship must exist. The correct answer is a husband and wife. Tenancy by the entireties is a tenancy between. 15. The state is when a person prepares a will before death, and interstate is when a person dies without a will prepared. A. True. B. False. The correct answer is true if a person prepares a will and then dies. This is known as a test state. If the person dies without a choice, this is known as interstate. 16. A real estate agent declines to show a Muslim couple of houses in a neighborhood because she feels the area isn't Muslim friendly. This is known as what? A. Good faith exception. B. Redlining. C. Steering. D. Blockbusting. The correct answer is C. Steering. Steering is the act of directing or not directing clients to a particular area based on race, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, or handicapped. While the agent may believe she acts benevolently by directing her buyers to an area, they will be comfortable. This practice is a violation of the Federal Fair Housing Act. 17. Foreclosure occurs when a blank ceases and sells a borrower's blank after the borrower has failed to blank the lender. A. Being a lender home alert. B. Bank personal property appreciates. C. Lender collateral repay. D. Bank property notify. The correct answer is C. Lender collateral repay. A lender requires collateral for a loan. And if the buyer defaults on the terms of the loan agreement, usually through failure to make payments on time, the lender can and will seize the collateral, usually the home and/or property. 18. Blank is when an individual can be paid for brokering a real estate transaction, yet represent neither the buyer nor the seller. A. Situational brokerage. B. Transactional brokerage. C. Divisional brokerage. D. Individual brokerage. The correct answer is B. Transactional brokerage. Transactional brokerage is only legal in some states, and care must be taken to see the duties and responsibilities for the agents brokering a deal, if they are not representing either side of the agreement. 19. Mr. and Mrs. Cox make Mr. and Mrs. Green a proposal on their home, however, they have not heard back from them on whether or not the proposition has been acknowledged. Meanwhile, they have observed another home they might want to buy, all things being equal. What is their most ideal choice? A. Withdrew their offer with a penalty. B. Modify their offer to one they are confident Mr. and Mrs. Green will not accept. C. Wait for Mr. and Mrs. Green's response. If they accept the offer, pay the withdrawal fee outlined in the contract. D. Withdraw their offer with no penalty. The correct answer is D. Withdraws their offer with no penalty. Before an offer has been accepted, the buyers have the right to withdraw their offer with no liability. However, if the seller has already taken the offer, the proposal becomes a contract with legal obligations. 20. Jim, the sales associate, receives an escrow deposit on Tuesday. When is the deadline to turn it over to his broker? A. Wednesday. B. Thursday. C. Friday. D. Saturday. The correct answer is A. Wednesday. Jim must turn the escrow deposit over to his broker by the end of the next business day of receiving it Wednesday. 21. When a purchase agreement states the property is being sold as is it? A. Underscores the fact that nothing is warranted. Still requires the buyer to receive transfer disclosure statement TDs noting any material facts which affect the property's value. B. Puts the buyer on notice they should be aware. C. Still requires the buyer to receive transfer disclosure statement TDs noting any material facts which affect the property's value. D. Releases the seller of the requirement to deliver a TDS to the buyer or discloses about the property's condition. The correct answer is C. Still requires the buyer to receive a transfer disclosure statement TDs noting any material facts which affect the property's value, as is a nebulous and frequently misunderstood statement in real estate practice. An exchange divulgence articulation TDS containing property data, including known or suspected property surrenders influencing esteem, should be conveyed to a forthcoming purchaser on the offer of a 4-unit private property when practicable on the beginning of dealings. 22. What is meant by riparian rights? A. The former property owner still lives at the property, but it has officially been sold. B. There is no legal owner to the land, so the property becomes the government's possession. C. The property owner has the property that borders a moving body of water. D. The property was given to the current owner by a deceased family member. The correct answer is C. The property owner has a property that borders a moving body of water. Suppose a property owner has riparian rights. Their property borders a moving body of water such as a river or stream. Typically, a property owner with riparian rights cannot meddle with the natural flow of the water touching their property. 23. What is the primary purpose of Regulation Z? A. To let borrowers know the actual cost of credit to. B. To lock the borrower into a mortgage once the paperwork be signed. C. To set a minimum interest rate. D. To limit the amount consumers can be charged. The correct answer is A. To let borrowers know the actual cost of credit. Regulation Z states the yearly percentage rate or APR cost of credit should be revealed when borrowers apply for credit. Regulation Z, also called the Truth in Lending Act, does not set a minimum or maximum interest rate. 24. Which document outlines the environmental effects that are caused by new development? A. An environmental development report. B. An environmental impact report. C. An environmental project report. D. An environmental risk report. The correct answer is B. Environmental impact report. The environmental impact report statement describes the likely environmental effects and new development will have. The document is sometimes required by local governmental agencies before new construction is started. 25. Chris has been driving through Ashley's property for the past 20 years to get to work. Chris has which type of easement? A. Appurtenant. B. Gross. C. Prescription. D. Necessity. The correct answer is C. Prescription. Easement by prescription is created after continuous usage of another's property for 20 years.